Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at the search for the lost species, which is brought to you by Renegade Games. It's for 1 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and games generally run about 60 to 75 minutes. Thousands of plants and animals have been discovered, but haven't been seen for decades, and could be on the brink of extinction. In order to save these species, first we must find them again. The Search for Lost Species is a game about the real-world search. You are scientists on an expedition to find one of these lost species. While there are lost species all around the world, this game focuses on several lost species in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. The organization Rewild has compiled a list of lost species around the world, which can be found on their website. They engage in expeditions with numerous partners and encourage others to conduct their own expeditions to rediscover these amazing lost species. You will need to locate these lost species and report correct sightings of other animals on the island habitat. The scientist who contributes the most to the expedition wins the game. So yes, this is the deduction game. It is a logic puzzle in many ways. And if you're familiar with Planet X, a lot of this is going to be very similar to you. But one of the neat new things are these villager cards, basically. You go to a village or a town and you get one of these cards. They're going to give you in-game scoring. They might give you instant actions or ongoing actions through the course of the game. Very valuable cards as you move through and try to find the information. Now, also like Planet X, this is an app-driven game. You're going to have all the info here private to you. You have to announce to everybody what you're doing and what animal you might be looking for, but you don't have to tell them the results. You're marking it down on your player sheet, and you have screens to hide everything behind. Now, all these different species, you'll put one into play. Like I said, you have several to choose from. You're going to enter all this information into the app. You have some different difficulty levels as well. The longer map on this side of the board is easier, and on the other side of the board is a smaller map, which is a little more difficult. Each of the players is going to be sitting at a compass location, north, south, east, west, around the edge of the board here. You'll have the 4 different areas, and as you set up the app, set up the species, you're going to set up exactly where you're playing, and all the scoring sheets, all the deduction sheets that you're using to mark things off and gather information are specific to where you're sitting on that north, south, east, west compass position. So it allows you to really orient the map the way you see it. So as you're moving through and marking things off and traveling around the island, it all makes a lot of sense to what you're doing. So as a player, you have many things at your disposal. First and foremost, the app. You have a couple different ways the app can be used. It can be used on a single device with all the multiple players, or you have a code that each player with their own device can log in and have their own private info. But either way, it is still private. You keep it close to you, you look at what the info is, mark it off in your sheet, which brings us to the sheet. The sheet is so important because you'll be marking off animals, trying to locate that lost species, and there's some logic around that. You know, this lost species may not allow pythons to be next to them, so you'll know that that might be an area that's available where the lost species might be. So it's a really interesting path as you move through the island and start marking off animals, as the app tells you when you arrive at a place or you move through a place what you've seen and so forth, or maybe you've placed a camera. So we'll take a quick look at those actions that are available to you. But your info sheet also allows you to track your actions and research and different things you've done. Now you also have your player screen, which has a lot of valuable info on it, and you'll be up in front of you at all times, and you won't really need to reference the rule book at all because you're doing everything through the app and this info. This is fantastic. You have info on the animals, on the different island information, as well as turn overview and game in scoring. So it's all really nice right here in front of you, keeping you up to date through the game. Actions in this game require time. So you have a time track around the edge of the board. You have an expedition leader as well. So as you use your meeple and you perform different actions, you'll move along the time track. And the player that's furthest behind is going to get to go next, always. So potentially you could actually get 2 turns in a row. But if you take a big action and move way out in front, you might have to wait a while until your turn comes back around and all the other players has passed you by. And as that happens, and as you pass the expedition leader will start to move, giving you options to do sightings of animals. So maybe you've discovered in this one area there's only toads. So you want to be the first one to place your token there, get points and so forth for the end of the game. And it's an interesting mix of how you do that and how you deduce. As the expedition leader moves around the board, different things will trigger as well. So on your turn, you'll perform 1 action, and there are really 5 different actions you could take advantage of. 2 you'll be using quite a bit. You've got surveying by foot or surveying by boat. And what you'll do is you'll pick an animal across the top of the app. You'll also pick that action on the app and you'll follow through. It's very straightforward and simple, but you'll mark off the different tile or different locations that you're traveling through and then see what the app resolves to. Now, when you do that, you announce to everybody, this is what you're doing, this is the animal you're looking for, but you don't have to give the results to everybody. You'll mark it off in your sheet, keeping it hidden, obviously, and then move on to the next player. Or maybe you'll place a camera trap. You'll pick a location, move your meeple there, and you'll place the camera icon or camera token, I should say. You'll place that on the spot, choose that action on the app, and pick an animal. And it will just tell you straight up if that animal happens to be there. If you've guessed correctly, then you know that one's there and you can cross things off appropriately and so forth. So that's a really powerful action. Obviously, you can't do that every turn, but it is very useful at crucial times. Now, also, you might travel to a town and get one of the town cards. Again, those town cards are going to give you either instant actions, ongoing actions, or in-game scoring. Very powerful. Both of those things are going to really give you some nice, crucial help through the course of the game as you try to find that lost species. And it's important to note that you have to have the token available to either visit the town or place that camera trap. And you won't get those back until the expedition leader moves around the board and actually you can retrieve it at certain key locations as that expedition leader moves. But it is also important to note, like with the camera trap, it is a very expensive in time in order to use that, but again, very valuable indeed. Or maybe you think you know where the last species is. So you'll pick that action on the app and you'll have to do a couple different things here. You'll pick the location where the last species is, but you'll also have to pick two animals that are in adjacent locations. So you hope you've kind of tied all that together in your findings. But the app will tell you if you're right or wrong. If you're wrong, you don't have to tell anybody where you looked. But if you're right, that is the game and trigger. Obviously, you're the one who found the lost species, and then you're going to be totaling points. And of course, there's many ways to gather points in this game, from sighting tokens, picking the right animal in different locations, being the leader, as well as from the town cards or just locating the lost species. Now, sightings, there's a sightings phase, and it's all kind of dictated by the expedition leader, and you'll be placing your sighting tokens out into a location. You can place one or two, and you're gonna be doing it secretly as you pull it behind your player screen, and then you'll put them out into the different locations. And there's timing tokens related to that as well, based on where the expedition leader is, but there's different scales based on which animals and so forth are out there and how you score those points. But it really is key to getting those sightings out. You really want to get those points for sightings for sure, because potentially, even if you were the one who found the last species, you still might not win the game. You may win because you had the best and most sightings. So there's multiple ways again to score points, and you hope maybe you were the most diversified in doing so, giving you the win at the end of the game. So what's really neat though is that the app is totally randomized every time you play, so the information is very different. So based on that, we'll really determine what actions you're performing and how you're moving through the game, but it's all incredibly straightforward as you use the app and try to deduce that information and put it onto your player sheets. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, if you know Planet X, again, a lot of this is going to be very familiar to you, but I really dug this theme. It felt like I was scientist out there gathering info, moving through the island, and so forth. Now, there's also some really interesting things with the app. You can do different difficulty levels as you move through and start to evolve and get better at the game, and definitely the other side of the map is a little smaller and makes it more difficult. So I like those twists. It really keeps the game fresh. And again, how the app just randomizes the information so you really have a different experience every time you play. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me. And until next time, we'll see you at the table.